Hi, welcome to the channel. Today's video we are taking a look at this OEX Lynx EV1 one-person backpacking tent. Now, it's no longer made, no longer sold, but you can still find them cropping up on eBay and Facebook occasionally. I've wanted one for a long time, so I finally bit the bullet and bought one off of eBay that came out recently. So we can have a good look around it, cover the basic specs, how it pitches, how it feels, interior space, materials, all that kind of stuff, because I think it's a really great little backpacking tent. I've wanted one for a long time. They do crop up occasionally, so if you were ever finding one online, hopefully you'd find this video useful just to show you the kind of tent you will get. Now, I paid £75 for this one, including postage from eBay. It was sold as new condition, but there are a couple of tiny issues with it. There's a little bit of mould on the fly sheet. The interior is absolutely fine, apart from one of the corners there's a little bit of dodgy stitching, so I'll get that repaired. But everything else for the 75 quid is pretty good. The poles look perfect, all the guy lines are there. There's all of the original pegs and one spare, and I also managed to snag the original ground sheet with it. So for 75 quid, it's a pretty good deal. So we'll have a good look round it now as I get it out of the bag and show you the weight and all the material specs and stuff. As ever, when I buy a used tent, I normally take them up to this local hill to pitch them, have a look around and make sure all the materials are fine and make sure all the pegs and everything are okay before I take them for a wild camp. So if you want to see me take it out for a proper wild camp, give it a proper overnight test and see a bit of weather or whatever, then do subscribe to the channel, and hopefully in the next couple of months we'll be taking this one out. As you can see, the pack size is pretty small. It can definitely be packed away smaller. Again, if you took the poles out and just packed it away into separate dry bags, you'd be able to get it down a lot more. And I've also got the original ground sheet for the tent, and again, packs away pretty small. You could crush that down further as well. The weight of the tent, according to OEX, is 1.65 kilograms, so it's not the lightest one-man tent out there, but it's far from being the heaviest. I think, given the space you're going to get with the tent, it's a pretty fair weight and a pretty decent pack size. In terms of the poles, these are good quality Union T6 8.5mm aluminium poles, and they're largely connected, and you can see there's different hub points there. And we've got a matching set of aluminium ground stakes. Look like pretty good quality, pretty lightweight, decent length. They should bite pretty well, and they do come with the strings attached so you can pull them out easily. What also adds a little bit of extra weight to the tent is at the bottom. It's got two poles pre-inserted into the materials to give a decent lift to the foot box. So that's a nice feature. Does add a little bit of weight, but does increase the livability of the tent. The ground sheet is 70D PU Coated Nylon material with a hydrostatic head of 7,000mm, which is pretty good, and it all feels nice quality. Got the standard OEX zips and stuff. Doesn't say that they're YKK. They've got SBS on them, so I don't know if that's a different kind of brand, but it's a slightly older OEX tent. Not all of them used YKK zips back in the day. In terms of the fly sheet, it is this kind of mustard colour or green colour that was the staple for all the EV tents. So there's a EV Lynx 2, there's a Cougar EV2 as well. So and there was also the Fox 1. They did an EV lightweight version as well, using exactly the same materials and colours and stuff. And the fly sheet is a 30D 270 thread nylon and silicone coated material. And it's got a hydrostatic head of 3,000mm, so not the most waterproof material out there, but should be absolutely fine for use in all kinds of heavy rain and stuff. The tent is in a pitch first. The pole is all completely attached. One pole is pre-bent at these junctions to go into the two corners, and the other pole is very long and sits into the back, and is also hooks up on the front here. So quite straightforward to put together, but it is in a pitch first. It is a very easy tent to pitch. Obviously I was being a bit tentative, first time I've ever pitched it, but you can see the design and the decent height going through the tent. It's tapered towards the end, so slightly narrower. I'll put all the measurements of the internal space up on screen, and it's interesting that you can buy the ground sheet for it. Obviously you could back in the day, and I've got the ground sheet for it, but there's already a ground sheet covering the porch. So like the other Cougar 2 EV that I've got, that is a nice feature that you've already got a covered porchway. Benefit of it being a inner pitch tent is on a day like today, when the weather is absolutely glorious, like it's been in South Wales for about 5 or 6 weeks now, you can just pitch the inner. You've got a lovely airy space, but you've got enough shelter around the sides to give you a bit of wind protection and a bit of privacy, but you're going to get really, really brilliant views through the mesh. Interesting enough, the door is mesh only, so there's no way of making that more solid, but you've still got a pretty generous little lip there, and you've got a really, really generous bathtub. So that 7,000mm hydrostatic head does come up quite a long way. You shouldn't have any issues with water ingress underneath this tent, especially if you're using the footprint. The other thing you can see is the foot box, which is a really nice bit of design, so you can tighten it up on both sides, and you just see the tent lifting itself up. And we can see we have got some damage here. It has come out of that and could do with being restitched. So it looks like another job for my friend to re-sew that bit back in. Again, you know, it is a used tent. I did pick it up second hand, and I have picked up this isn't the first OEX tent I bought second hand, but kind of new, that has had a bit of stitching problems as well. So quality control might be better on some of the newer ones, but yeah, you do get the occasional issue. But you can see a really nice high foot box with a nice little vent in there as well. So that is a nice bit of design that I do like that. And you know, the height of the tent does go a long way down, so you're not really losing anything there. In terms of interior space, there's plenty of room for me. I'm 5'11", the width is pretty good at the head end, narrow at the feet end, so obviously check your sleeping mats to make sure they're going to fit into it. The height is absolutely fine for getting changed. The only drawback to this kind of design tent is the fact that it's entry from the front rather than the side, so it is a bit more awkward to get in and out of, especially if you've got gear in here. There's enough room to put a little bit of gear in here, but I imagine your back is going to end up in the porch. And again, if that's your main entry exit point, that could be a little bit awkward. But no, it's a very nice little design in here. Plenty of breeze coming through, but you do have the protection there. If you're just going to use this inner only, this is an absolutely ideal summer tent. You've got a hanging point for a lamp, about halfway down. Plenty of height for your feet as well, so no matter how big your feet are, I've got size 11 feet, you can have them absolutely comfortable down there, but it is significantly narrower at the bottom. You've got a pocket to shove the door into, and then you've got a pocket either side for bits and pieces, so you can definitely get all your valuables inside the tent. So plenty of height right the way through, so it's easy to get changed, and plenty of height to sit and cook in the porchway. So no, I really like this tent. I've looked for it for a long time, and I'm glad I finally bit the bullet and bought one when I found one on eBay. Putting on the fly sheet wasn't too bad. A couple of little differences that I just had to quickly work out how they worked. One of them is how the exterior, the fly sheet attaches to the inner. So there's actually little metal hooks that just clip underneath where the poles go into the ground sheet. So they just hook off of the same pole. Quite a clever bit of design, but something I hadn't seen before. So I was a little bit puzzled as to how that worked. Got one nice little vent at the front, and there's a decent vent at the back. One of the good things about this tent is there's quite a lot of guying out points. You've got the 2 guy out points at the front, and then you've got additional guying out points at the rear. You've got 3 of them, and there's plenty of pegging points on the fly sheet around the tent as well. So it is designed to, I think, withstand a bit of weather. Certainly pitched either head on or back into the wind, with the wind whipping up over the top. Either way is going to be pretty good, but obviously with the shape it's going to be more susceptible from side winds. You can see it's a really nice aerodynamic shape at the back. The seam's not sitting perfectly. I didn't bother tying the fly sheet to the poles as much as you need to really. I just wanted to put up quite quickly. And obviously you can pin this down further as well up the side just by sinking the peg a bit further. Again, I'm only pitching it just to show you around, so I'm not going to bother getting all the pegs in properly and doing that. But it does sit pretty low to the ground if you were to peg it a bit tighter. And you can see that it's going to catch a bit of wind from the side, but it shouldn't be too bad. The way that it's shaped from the front, the wind should sort of push over without too many issues. So you can see the rear of the tent is vented and held open in that way, but obviously you could close that vent up and peg the guy line a lot tighter if you wanted to keep that completely sealed if it was really cold or somehow there was rain ingressing, but it shouldn't do because the vent is quite high up and you've got a lot of material here protecting it from any rain ingress. Free guy and out point's pretty nice. You've got the little aluminium O-rings which don't weigh a lot, but they're really easy to adjust and slide up and down when you need them to. All the pegs are absolutely fine. So yeah, for a used tent it's a pretty solid buy. Just see a little bit of the mould on the fly sheet here. I'm not sure if it's going to be possible to wash that off, to be honest. It's not very easy to wash these kind of materials, but I might give it a try. But you know, it is what it is. You know, if you're buying used tents, you will occasionally sometimes get these things. But yeah, it's a really nice shaped tent, as you saw earlier. Loads of interior space and height. The poles, the little inside poles here, giving that footbox decent height and shape, does make a real difference. It's a really nice design. It's a real shame they stopped making them. It'd be great if they did an updated version with perhaps slightly different materials or even trying to shave some weight off and stuff. It always bothers me when tent manufacturers seem to have a good design and they just stop making it. Maybe because it was inner pitch first, maybe that wasn't very popular in the UK. I don't know. For me, the inner pitch first, as we saw earlier, just gives it, you know, makes it two tents in one. It makes it a perfect summer tent, and then also one which you can just whack the fly sheet over for when it's raining. So you can see the porch is not massive, but you've got enough space to keep your backpack and your boots dry and still be able to get in and out. But it obviously is a little bit restricted getting in and out unless you just take that off the peg, which you can do, and roll that back to the other side. But if the weather was bad, you could just open up one side. You could sit here inside the tent, do a little bit of cooking in the porch. If the tent was pitched correctly, so the rain was blowing over the top, you'd have enough room to cook, enough air to be safe and stuff. And obviously you can then, if it's a nice dry day like today, you can just take this off of the peg and you can hook it right out of the way as well. Well, there we have it. That is the OEX Lynx EV1 tent. A tent I've wanted for a very long time. Finally able to grab it. Look, I was really pleased when it got delivered to be able to take it up and pitch it for the first time. It is a really cool little tent, I think. I'm definitely going to use it this summer, I think, just with the inner only and to leave the fly sheet off, because I think for summer camping like that, it's absolutely perfect. It's kind of like, you know, it's a posh bivvy really in terms of just pitching that out of frame and stuff. I will have to weigh the fly sheet and see how much weight you save if you weren't using it. But yeah, it's a really spacious, airy little tent for a one-man tent. I think it's a nice bit of design. It'd be interesting to see how it holds up in a bit of weather as well. So I think this is going to be a tent which I perhaps keep for a while and try and use a couple of times, try and get a bit of experience with it and stuff. I know they're quite well thought of, but that's why they don't come for sale that often, because people tend to buy them and keep them and use them. But I've definitely seen, you know, 5 or 6 a year for sale quite easily. So if you are interested in this kind of tent, yeah, you should be paying between sort of £70 to £100 for one of these, depending on condition and stuff. And you might even get them cheaper, you never know. So hopefully that's been useful for someone who has been looking at one of these tents, perhaps used, or they've just randomly found one, didn't really know what it was. You can still find information about them online, but I think it's always interesting to see someone pitch one, and especially to know, you know, what kind of condition you can expect. I imagine this one has just been stored a bit badly, which is why it's got a little bit of mould on it. But that shouldn't be of detriment to the material at all. It's just a little bit frustrating. So I might contact the seller actually and just point out a few things, see if I can get some money knocked off, refunded, because again, you know, it was listed as new, probably because it hadn't been taken out of the bag. But obviously there are a couple of issues with it. Anyway, if you made it this far, huge thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.